Okay, good evening, peeps. I'm expecting this one to be lovely and quiet because I don't think many people realise that I'm streaming out on this stream at the moment. And even those that have registered to this channel have probably all gone off to bed. So it's good. I can have a nice quiet one. So people, this channel over here is going to be exclusively for my own panels. It's also going to be for me to share my thoughts on the day's events or what I've seen recently and stuff like that. And in the coming weeks, I'll probably have the camera on more, but I need to sort out my I need to sort out stuff and that before I decide to do all that. Aha, Curse is up. Hiya, Curse. So what I need to do is I do need to do some modding. So let me go to my channel. Let's go to mods. In fact, just go to my channel, wouldn't it? I don't need to do that. I can just go to my channel. In fact, no, while I'm here, let me check my mods. I don't know if I've got any on here. Let me check the long way. Let me see. Okay, I need to take GPU chops off here. I've got Ichabod. I haven't seen Ichabod for a long time. Transporter, I need to take Teddy off here. And Candy Cane, you can fuck right off. Kermit O'Grady needs to come off here. That's it. I'll leave those ones there. Okay, let's see who I've got. Let me see who I've got banned on here before I start. So let's have a look. Pigsters, you can stay there. Barry Vienna, don't even know who that is, so you can stay there. Freedom for Britain, yeah, you can stay there. Cosmic Kitty, you can stay banned. Aspo Alice, you can stay banned. June, I'll block her. Who else have we got here? Anybody else that want one banned? Yeah, you can be unbanned. Hi-Ho's banned on this one, though. You can be unbanned. Don't know why you've been banned on here. See what happens when your mods think that you can be unbanned, Kimmy. Ban the Lion, you can be unbanned. You can be unbanned. Okay. That's not too many people, actually. Spoke too soon. Fucking load more. Tash Jeffs, can you imagine how long ago that woman was on here? There's people on here that I'm not even sure. Suzanne, why did you get banned? Pablo? Who banned Pablo? Urban Roots? What the fuck? So somebody was using their own... probably Cheeky Chops, weren't it? Okay, show 108 more. Adam Smith even got banned. Who banned him? Let's have a look. I will be with you guys. I just want to check this list. Okay. I think. Okay, Deborah, you can be unbanned. Oh, Luke. They had Luke banned over here. I wonder why. And Pauline Smith. Yeah, somebody was banning who they felt like banning by the look of it over here. That's mad. Okay, I think that's about it. Right, let's save. Right. So over here, I will be having not at the moment back catalogue, but if you start your nonsense, you will be, because I'm not. This isn't a channel for trolls. It is an open panel channel, but it's not going to be for trolls. I'm not doing none of that nonsense. I've spent years going backwards and forwards with people that are disingenuous and have got low morals, and I've had enough of it. In all honesty, people that think they've got better morals than everybody else, but actually they're dirty and disgusting and caped for fucking people that don't need to be caped for. So yeah, so this I need to do curse. Hold on, curse. I want to give you your modship. So this is free. Right, one of the things that you need to do is tell me curse. I don't know. I don't want managing moderators, thanks. But I will put curse as a mod. We don't have managing moderators anywhere. Don't need them. Yeah, so this is a late one. Yeah, it's only a little chit chat. It's nothing big. It's not it's not got anything. I haven't got no stream planned. If anyone wants to come up, they can. Let me just edit the title because that's spelt wrong. I need to make sure that that's done. And I'll put the link. Let me get the link in the description. Right, this isn't for trolls. If you're somebody that's trolling, if you come up and you don't have a normal conversation, you're gone. Because I can't be tolerating the fucking stupidness no more. I might laugh from a distance, but that'll all be on Jupiter affiliated too. Yeah, you were banned. I had to unblock you from my ban list, hi-ho. God knows who blocked you. You need a modship as well. I don't know who done that. It's mental. But I can't remember the last time I was on this channel. Right, you should actually have a modship now, hi-ho. Just type and see. Yeah, you were banned. Luke was banned. Deborah was banned. Who else was banned that I wouldn't have banned? Adam Smith was banned. Quite a few people banned that I wouldn't have banned. So, yeah, bit weird that. So if people haven't noticed, what I'm trying to do is change things up. I am going to maximise my free channels. And I'm going to compartmentalise because I'm going to try and stop going on other people's panels because I just find it infuriating that, well, things happen on other channels and I've got strong opinions about some things that are said. And then people take offence and they get upset. And if people are going to take offence and get upset, it's much better if I just, A, review it and do it on my own show. Or just talk about it on my own show, which is what I intend to do. Having said that, for anybody that's a nosy hole and wants to know, me and Jamie are fine. I can go on his panel if I want to at any time. We've sorted it all out. But I just don't want to go on any panels. I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I know that people say, oh, Jupiter, you've said this before, but this time I'm really tired. I was in Ghost last live stream, just listening for a little while. And I was like, this is so boring. This is so boring. Not only is it the same arguments over and over and over, it's not even funny no more. You know, I just find a lot of it just boring now. Whereas before I could laugh at some of the individuals, I just find them predictable and stupid. And I know that people are going to get upset and go, oh, who is she to call people stupid? But that is really how I feel about it all. And they've been calling me stupid for years anyway, so I don't know why they would get offended. They all think I'm daft as arseholes, so I'm entitled to think some of them are daft as arseholes themselves, and I. Yeah, hi-ho, it has. And I just think that even going on to, I enjoyed my time on Society X's. I'm not going to knock him because at least he had a bit more of a civilized show than what the likes of Ghosts would have done and that. But for me to sit on, how can I put it? For me to sit on panels with some people, yeah, Adam, there's a lot of that going on, isn't there? Sorry. There's a lot of that going on now to do with that. I've seen a lot of did you see that woman that was locked up for 25 years recently? They've just put a woman away for keeping someone prisoner. But I've seen lots of those cases. I reckon that modern day slavery is going to get worse, because where everything's becoming digitalized and less personal and people don't interact with people as much, and because we've got all the differences in the language and all that stuff, it's quite disgusting. Yeah, on my other show where I do the reviews, Adam, I might do a show of reviewing some of the crimes. I'll do a day of that. I'm going to change it up. Yeah, hi-ho. I think that I have moved on, and I don't mind people coming up to talk to me, but really I don't want all this nonsense. When I first came around, right, I didn't really I didn't really know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to say. Obviously, I had my strong opinions on grooming gangs. I had my strong opinions on the race relations in this country that I predicted so well that everybody else said that I was mad about. And also COVID came along and it was just like bad habit, really. Go and sit on a panel, talk to a load of nutters. Some of them were quite funny because they were far out in some of the things that they said and did. And I couldn't believe that people found my point of view controversial, to be honest. I think it's quite mild now to some people's. But when I first come about, they all acted like they'd never heard someone tell them the truth before. I don't know if that was their gaslighting techniques or whether that was genuine outrage, because over the years I've come to understand they've all got fake outrage, and I even joined in the fake outrage. That's how mental it gets you, because you actually join in with it for a while, because you end up sitting in teams doing propaganda against people, you know. And then when I realised that that's what was going on, I dragged myself away from that, took a load of abuse for that, to defend myself over that, and then had to listen to bullshit, 24 hours a day. People having postmortems over my life that they don't even know, that they don't. 98% of what's said on here about me is absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Can I be rude? Yeah. Can I tell a lie? Yeah, like everybody else. I think everybody's told at least one lie in their life. Am I a general liar? No. I honestly believe that if I'd have sat on the left with controversial opinions, people wouldn't have cared. People wouldn't have cared. Yeah, I'll have to watch it, Adam, before I can comment on it. You know, but I after watching about Satanism and stuff in the last couple of days, my stomach's had enough for a couple of days not to talk about that. You know. Yeah, well, that was my learning stage. Hi. It was. And in my ignorance, and naivety, I honestly thought that if I come up and say, listen, Tommy Robinson's not a racist, and by the way, I still think he's not a racist. I'm just a normal person married to a black man. And if I can say he's not a racist, I don't know how people are calling him racist. And that was after all, the grooming gangs are bad and they are happening. There's enough evidence now. That was my ignorance and naivety. I had no clue the kind of hate that Tommy got, or anybody that stuck up for him, or any of the nuttiness that was going on with the left. And as time went on, it got worse and worse, and I started seeing more and more shit, and and then you get drawn into this left and right paradigm, didn't you? You know. And people were saying that I was being pulled further right. No, I've always been centre right. But one thing that I will shed and say that I don't want to, that I don't want to be branded anymore as a civic nationalist. I think the civic nationalist position's dead. I'm not an ethno-nationalist either. I would just say that I'm a patriot who loves my country. I think that we do need to stand up against the tyranny of this government. I blame the left for bringing in Labour. But would we have probably got this dictatorship with the right if we'd have voted the right in? Yeah, slowly. I think that either way, I think that that's one of the few things that David Icke has said that's correct. They were drawing you up to the top of that tree no matter what way you were going. And that's why I call these people top of the horseshoe. Hi-Ho said the George Floyd death would have had a great impact on the panels around COVID as well. Black Lives Matter used that to create mayhem. For me personally, when it came to the black nationalists, there was an instant dislike because I was in a mixed marriage, and it would have been like me going on to Steve Laws's panel and trying to talk to them. Even though I did, not a lot of people noticed that I did try and talk to the white ethno-nationalists as well as the black ethno-nationalists to get an understanding of them, to find out why they felt the way that they did. Instead, they thought the black nationalists thought that I aligned with them, and the white nationalists thought that I aligned with the black nationalists. But it wasn't a case. I've always been centre right, and I've always been a Tommy supporter. But yeah, so I think that the black nationalists took an instant dislike anyway, and they didn't like the fact that I wasn't going to bow down and just see their point of view and fall for the wokery, which made me a target, which I'm proud of, by the way. I'm not looking at it like I'm not looking at it like I'm a victim, even though I was a target, and even though a lot of bullshit was put out. I don't consider myself a target. Thank you, Curse. I'm going to be doing more of that over on my show that I've rebranded. Yeah, on the channel that I've rebranded. You know. Yeah, there's going to be a UTK on the 16th of May, and I certainly will be there. Definitely going to be there, bigging that up. But the politics on the right is very fast moving at the moment. A lot of it's very fast moving. There's a lot of moving and shaking going on in the background as well that you can see. It's going to be interesting what happens Saturday, because they've closed the ports of Dover, haven't they? They've said that Dover ports have shut down because they've got maintenance or something unexpectedly for 2 months. I don't know whether we should believe them, whether it's like, take your eyes off of here because we've closed down. And while everyone takes their eyes off and goes to Ramsgate or elsewhere, you get a load of people coming in at Dover still. I don't know. It could be a strategy. It could be a red herring. It could be anything, the way things are going. But it will be interesting to see. Curse said there's a blacktivist who really winds me up on GB News. Proper race bait. I forgot her name. Yeah. There's quite a few. Curse. That talk absolute fucking shit and nonsense. I'm not saying that I always talk fucking sense. I think sometimes I waffle sometimes. And I think sometimes I'm a bit far out there. But I think more often than not, I'm fucking sensible. This is like when a new channel came onto Freeview. You got easy setting up more channels than Sky and Jupiter. Return your box, guys. No, I've still got the same 3 channels, Adam. It's just that Jupiter Affiliated has gone over to a new name because it's only going to be reviewing. It's the processing centre closed for a couple of months, yeah. The Jupiter Affiliated 2 is probably where I will review panels if I feel like I want to. Like if I see a good debate happen on a panel, if I happen to watch it, I might review it and give my point of view. And then this one is going to be my panels and just me talking. So, you know, we shall see how it goes. I'm not expecting too much, you know, because I know the trolls enjoy all the back and forth, and I know that that's where the views come from, but I'm not interested in that no more. I'm just pissed off with it, to be quite honest. You know, they're not funny no more. They're not new. They're not edgy. You know, and to some extent, and I know people are going to say because I've joined in and met them, and matched them with my gob, which I can do. And I'm still capable of doing that if I want to. I'm very sarcastic, I know that. But to some extent, you have to not lower your morals, but you have to get the free speech on free speech panels. You sometimes have to put up with arseholes that you wouldn't normally put up with. Let me just put it like that. And sometimes you have to tolerate shit that you wouldn't tolerate. And I think what done it for me, what really done it for me, was realizing that there's so many men on these panels that actually minimise what DJE did. You know. No, I'll be long gone before that. Long gone before that, Adam. One day there'll be a channel with Jupiter and Simon's knitting channel. Oh God, no. No. And I think even putting me in with Simon is a bit of an insult, Adam, to be honest. I'm going to give you real outrage now. I would say that I'm not in the calibre of Simon, but other people see me different, don't they? But I don't think I'm as bad as Simon. I think Simon is one of the nastiest people I've ever met in my life, verbally. But then again, I can be nasty in my mouth when they giving it back. You know. But no, I think even if people don't like me, if they're truthful, they can see the reasoning behind some of what I've said or done, even if they don't agree with it. I think with people like Simon, it's very random. He's very obsessed with individuals and he's got mental health issues. You know. Oh no, I'm not going to have a go at you, Adam. I'm not going to take offence to that level. If I did, you wouldn't be over here. I'm not having people around me that I don't want in my space no more. I'm just going to block. And people can say, oh, what about free speech, this, that and the other. I don't care. I just want reasonable people. You haven't got to agree with me 100%, but at least be reasonable. At least be a bit mature about yourself. I'm tired of having to tolerate idiots. You know, people that are not on my level or people that have got a vested interest in deliberately lying about what I say or misinterpreting what I say deliberately, even though they all because they just want to save face or something. I can't be bothered with it no more. So I'm going to put the time and effort into my channels like I should have done at the very beginning, instead of helping everybody with their. I mean, I've helped loads of channels, and I'm not even talking about the ones that are still around. There's lots that I helped that have actually folded. You know, right back to real days. You know. But I've been on so many channels that I can see the calibre of people, and there's types of people that are on a lot of these channels. And no, I want panel shows that step out of some of these people. DP said, "Curse, they can do what they want when they want. Just shows their lack of will. Even more closing that at short notice. To be fair, yeah, it is quite weird, isn't it, that they've closed it just like that? But I think that it's no coincidence that that's around the same time as the protest was going to happen. I think there's one or two things going on here. Either people like Danny Tomo and a few others knew that it was going to close somehow, and therefore did all their hype videos knowing full well that it was going to close, and therefore wouldn't have to take a risk. Or Danny Tomo is 100% genuine, and because of the pressure that they thought he was going to bring, they've closed it. I know which one I go with, but it's up to people to make up their own mind. You know, I'm not going to tell people what when it comes down to personalities like that. I'm not going to tell people what I think either way. Because at the end of the day, people on there try to create division and hold people responsible for things that ain't their fault. And they don't believe in personal responsibility either. I can't stand this group mob mentality that we've got on here. That's ridiculous as well, especially when I've always been quite independent of people. And even if I do agree with people politically, I think I'm not really the group person. But there's too many of them have tried to make out that I'm this group person that I'm not. And I find that very constraining and restrictive. Of course, it's strange they're suddenly closed. There could be a third option, Curse. The third option could be that actually there's been an outbreak of a disease or something. Because there's been a lot of talk about people coming in, carrying some sort of germs and stuff, you know. Anne Robinson said, I thought Danny would have done a live regarding it all tonight, but we'll see tomorrow. He's probably preparing what he's doing, isn't he? And if they have swapped at the last minute to Ramsgate, which is what is possible, is going to happen, then there's probably a lot of stuff that they've got to change around, I would think, at the last minute. Yeah, exactly, hi-ho. Yeah, that's how I kind of feel about it. We will look forward to the live and wish them well. Yeah, in the Sun newspaper, DP. I did get it up. Let me get it. See if I can get it up again. Sun newspaper. Sun newspaper. It was reported a day ago. Davenport. Yeah, here it is. I'll put it up and show everybody. Okay. Says, look, 22nd of January, 2026, so it's current. Border Small Boat Migrant Processing Centre closed for at least 2 months for urgent repairs in new border shambles. The processing centre, used for all small boat migrants, has been forced to close for at least 2 months for urgent repairs. Western Jetfoil in Dover, opened in 2022, provides dry clothes and initial health checks. So they can't provide health checks there. Dinghy migrants will instead be taken to the port of Ramsgate, around 15 miles away from Dover. It is the first time that the processing centre has closed since it was opened in 2022. The site functions as an initial point of entry where people undergo initial health checks and are given dry clothes to change into. Pictures inside show temporary white tents with wooden benches where migrants are held. Migrants are picked up from inflatable dinghies once they enter British waters. Border Force catamarans bring them to port when they are given initial health checks and searched. They are then put onto coaches which takes them to Manston Asylum Centre in Kent, where they have initial interviews with Border Force workers. The Home Office said, we have closed Western Jetfoil for essential maintenance, which will save taxpayer money. A statement from Thanet District Council to councillors seen by the Sun suggests it's a short-term fix and will last about 2 months. Once the maintenance work has been completed, the processing will be transferred back to Western Jetfoil. I don't know if I think, I'll tell you what I think. They've probably closed it because of the protest and they're going to reinforce its boundaries and stuff to make sure that no one can get close to it in the future to cause a standstill or something. You know? Yeah, BB Media is supposed to be going down there, or I did say in the last interview that I had with him on my channel that he will be going down now. I don't know if he still is. I haven't spoke to him since then, but I'm assuming that he will do. And if he does he does some really good streams. He does, so that would be interested. So James Mack says, I work in Calais as part of the UK Border Force. That's interesting. And I can tell you now, the government are telling people lies as we speak. What do you mean? What, to do with closing it, or just the whole thing? Because I know the whole thing is suspect as fuck. I said today is still going. That's good. That's good, Curse. James Mack, do you mean like if people coming over? Hi Ho says, do you think it will not be closed? Okay. Do you think that's because they're trying to revert? Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. I think I'm getting a cold. Oh, I wouldn't mind. I've got the bloody heating on. Do you think that's because that they are trying to divert the protest? Do you think then? I think they should have a couple of people that go to Dover to keep an eye on it, then see what happens. They're saying that what they're going to do, James, is close the Dover one and divert them to Ramsgate. But you think, no, they're still going to be going to Dover. Interesting. That is really interesting. That's interesting. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow then. I don't know if they've changed it to Ramsgate or whether they're still meeting in Dover. I don't know what they're doing. You know, interesting. But and I would imagine that people are still going over to France though for the France part of it. And we'll just wait and see what happens. I mean, like I said before, I'm not going to knock any patriot for trying it as some form of activism, because I honestly think that it's got to the point now where probably activism is needed, but whether this is going to be the right route or not is yet to be seen. Yeah, Curse says what's going to be interesting is to see the numbers, yeah. But I don't know. There's a lot of strange stuff going on at the moment, isn't it? I mean, it's like they moved all those people into that army base in Crowborough. Danny said to still go and wait for the signal. Hi-Ho said, are they purposely misleading people? James seems to think so. Hi-Ho. DP says, I'm going to the Winchester, having a nice cold pint and waiting for all this to blow over. Adam said, got her a bit that DP did get a good interview of a farmer last night. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that one. I don't mind him. Well, that's not true. I think that man's foolish. I think he can get some good streams, but I think he's also very foolish. I saw him sort of like trolling Paul Thorpe. He might think it's banter, but it come across like trolling. And I was just like, you're going to get yourself in more problem again. But that's up to him anyway. You know? You know? But I mean, I will take a look at that stream. We'll take a look at them if it was a good one. I don't mind praising people if they get a good piece of footage and stuff. I've always said his footage is okay. It's just him as a person. Anne Robinson said, I think James is right. There's no way they'll close it. It's to try and divert. Interesting. James said, I can tell you right now there are 3,000 migrations waiting to come over. France has had enough of them. Yeah, we've had enough of them as well, James. It's a fucking joke what they've done to our country. Absolute travesty. And I kind of understand. I was listening to David Icke today, and I don't believe all his nonsense because I was reviewing it. But I kind of understand why so many people have bought into David Icke, because people just can't believe what's happening in front of their eyes. Adam said, yeah, but what the farmer said needs to go viral. Yeah, I will have a look at it, Adam. I definitely will. And if it's a good piece of stuff, I'll review it tomorrow. But I'm sure it'll go viral without me, to be honest. It doesn't need me to go viral, I don't think. The Chagos deal has collapsed. Well, good. Good. I did see something on the TV about a U-turn on jury trials. What was that about? Let me have a look, see if I can find out. I'm sure that I saw something caught my eye when Hector fucking put the TV on to go to work yesterday morning. Jury trials. Why do men do that? Okay. It's in the Telegraph. Why do men do that, you know? They stick a telly on, they're not even watching it, just so they've got background noise. And then they fuck off out the house and leave the telly on. Always find that annoying. Oh, yeah, Louise. I'm just doing a late night chat. Adam said, I do that. Yeah, a lot of men do it. It's weird, isn't it? They put the telly on, they don't even watch it, and then they fuck off out the house and leave it on. I'm like, why? What was the point in that? Right, let's get this up then and see if it's today's. Is this today's? Yeah. So let's get this shared then. See what they're actually saying. Because somebody else might want it on. No, I don't watch the TV. He don't even watch the TV. That's what I'm saying. The most we do is put YouTube onto it. Cheeky bastard. Right, so it's in the Telegraph. The only paper reporting on it. So I can't even tell you. I'm not giving you my email address. No. David Lammy has opened the door to a climb down on Labour's plans to scrap half of all jury trials. So I don't know what's going on, but they're thinking of scrapping it. Let's see if I can find a different paper. Let's have a look at this. Lammy has signalled the BBC's Nick Robinson that a climb down is on the way with regard to scrapping jury trials, responding to proposals set out by Brian Levinson in his review to have two magistrates alongside a judge. The bare minimum, the DPM said. Let's have the conversation, but I'm pretty clear that in the end I want the backlog coming down. Single judge will be more efficient at this level. We still have the magistrates' court, which under my proposals will do more. Lemmy also said that don't make sense. I'm pretty clear I want the backlog coming down. It's mental. I don't know. I don't know how from that they've got that he's going to bloody do a U-turn. But Adam said, oh God, it's Billy's dad. You wonder why? Because it's to pay for the immigration. Was to pay for the immigration. Yeah, we know that. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, James, what's happening in our country. James said, I know a lot of things are going to happen very, very soon. What do you mean by the government or from the people? If it's from the government, yeah, they're trying to implement loads of fucking stuff and curtail people. It's quite sad, actually, I think. A lot of what's happening in this country is just sad. And it affects all British people. I don't care what colour your skin is. It affects everybody. All British people. It's the ones with the third world mentality that have caused all the problems. But there's not a lot we can do apart from protesting, and that's why it's going to be interesting to see what Danny does and whether he gets anywhere. You know, I think a lot of people are waiting to watch. And I think the very fact that people have been less critical of him this time round, including myself, is very telling that the mood's changed, that people are very close to having enough. They've had enough with it all, you know. So we just have to see. But I think even the left are beginning to have enough of it all and all. I think even they can see the problems that have been caused. And I think they're disheartened by Starmer and what they thought was going to come in. God knows, DP. But they're suggesting that his words mean that he's considering having a rollback. He's willing to have a conversation, but I don't think so. Oh my God. See, this is what I mean, Adam. I find all this intolerable. Once upon a time, I would have found things like this funny. I don't find it funny anymore. I just look and I think, right, okay, is that individual just a troll? Trying to be controversial and get a reaction, or actually mentally ill? Wow, I didn't know that, James. James said, do you know back in 2022, the French government was putting the immigration on the ferry to the UK? Wow. And the UK government knew all about it. I'll tell you what, if that can be exposed and that's actually true, James, you know, should get it out there. That's terrible if that's true. But like I said, it's all trafficking, isn't it? It's all people trafficking. And I think a lot of people made a lot of money out of this at the expense of the British people and the French people. It's disgusting what's gone on in Europe. Yeah, I think so as well, Louise. I think they do realise that they're in danger. James is saying, no, it's definitely true. Let me put that up. Yeah. I'm not doubting you, James, but without any real evidence, I can't say that that's definitely true, can I? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That's how much I don't doubt you. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't. To be honest, I wouldn't even be shocked. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, of course they're all complicit. Hi ho, all the governments, the whole lot of them. Yeah, if you can get proof, James, get proof. You know, and to think that we've been paying millions to France. Millions we've been paying them. Well, you got boxes full of proof. Fucking hell. Or you mean like containers full of immigrants? I wouldn't be surprised with that either. Even the police won't go in certain areas. Yeah, apparently the French police have said that they can't. Their hands are tied, Louise, because they've got the same shit going on that we've got going on in this country, where if they try and stop it and do their jobs, even though that's what they're meant to be getting paid for, they'll get called racist and they'll end up losing their jobs. I wouldn't be surprised, Adam. I wouldn't be surprised with that either. I think there's a lot of people on here that are NGOs. And I think some people will be very shocked at the people that I thought were NGOs or involved in it all. But I'm not going to say nothing, because without proof, you know, without proof, you can say you wouldn't be surprised, but without proof, we can't say for definite. And that's the problem. And the thing is, you know what it's like with me. If I say, I wouldn't be surprised, before you know it, that turns into Jupiter said that you definitely are. People are crazy out here. They only hear what they want to hear as well. Bloody liars, a lot of them. Gaslighting liars and apologetics for wrong stuff. A lot of them are. I don't know how good being an island is, Louise, because if the shit hits the fan and you need to escape, all right, you can run into the sea, but if you can't swim, you're done for, aren't you? James said that's got nothing to do with it, and I know why, because do you want a link, James? Would you like to come up and talk? That has nothing to do with it, and I know why, because I was told from a police officer in Calais, France back in 2020. Okay. Yeah. But to be honest, that Liverpool whites only protest was stupid. I mean, I don't know who thought of that, but that was a dickhead. You know. I would never stand for that kind of thing. That's just ridiculous. Has anyone looked into the United Nations Convention Law of the Sea? Let's have a look. What is it called? United Nations Convention Law of the Sea. I think let's have a look. Let's have a look at it. United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, also called the Law of the Sea Convention of the Law of the Sea Treaty, is an international treaty that establishes a legal framework for all marine and maritime activities. As of October 2024, 169 sovereign states and the European Union are parties, including all major powers except the United States. The convention resulted from the Third United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea, which took place between 1973 and 1982. UNCLOS replaced the 4 treaties of the 1958 Convention on the High Seas. UNCLOS came into force in 1994, a year after Guyana became the 60th nation to ratify the treaty. In 2023, agreement was reached on a high seas treaty to be added as an instrument of the convention to protect ocean life in international waters. This would provide measures including maritime protected areas and environmental impact assessments. While the Secretary-General of the United Nations receives instruments of ratification and accession, and the UN provides support for meetings of states party to the convention, the United Nations Secretariat has no direct operational role in the implementation of the convention. A UN specialised agency, the International Maritime Organization, does play a role, however, as do other bodies such as the International Whaling Commission and the International Seabed Authority. United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea replaces the older freedom of the seas concept, dating from the 17th century. According to this concept, national rights were limited to a specified belt of water extending from a nation's coastline, usually 3 nautical miles, according to the cannon shot rule developed by the Dutch. All waters beyond national boundaries were considered international waters, and it's free to all nations but belonging to none of them. In the early 20th century, some nations expressed their desire to extend national claims, to include mineral resources, to protect fish stocks, and to provide the means to enforce pollution controls. The League of Nations called a 1930 conference at The Hague, but no agreements resulted. Using customary international law principles of a nation's right to protect its national resources, Harry S. Truman in 1945 extended United States control to all the natural resources of its continental shelf. Other nations were quick to follow suit, and between 1946 and 1950, Chile, Peru, and Ecuador extended their rights to a distance of 200 nautical miles. Other nations extended their territorial seas to 12 nautical miles. By 1967, only 25 nations still used the old 3 nautical mile limit, while 66 nations had set a 12 nautical mile territorial limit and 8 had set a 200 nautical mile limit. As of 15th of July 2011, only Jordan still uses the 3 mile. That limit is also used in certain Australian lands, an area of Belize, some Japanese straits, certain areas of Papua New Guinea, and a few British overseas territories such as Gibraltar. So what is it that you want us to look into? Find the rescue provisions. James Mack says the UK government had the chance to give the EU fishing rights to the waters, but when that was took away from the EU, the French were told to step down and stop interfering with the immigration. Fishing rights to the waters. Ah, so you believe that it was punishment for that? Yeah, I believe that. There is a link that was dropped by Irish Flame for you, James, if you want to come up. Yeah, they stuck their fingers up at the British. Yeah, I believe that did happen. Find the rescue provisions. Okay, let me see if it's here. Rescue positions. Right, let's go back then. Right. UNCLOS Article 98 obliges masters to render assistance to any person in distress at sea, regardless of nationality or status, without serious danger to their ship. States must ensure maritime search and rescue services are provided and that those rescued are delivered to a place of safety. Yeah, but they could just take them back, couldn't they? Masters of the ships flying a state's flag must, without serious danger to their vessel or crew, assist anyone found in danger of being lost at sea. Ships must proceed with all possible speed to rescue persons in distress, if informed of their need for assistance. Following a collision, ships must assist the other ship, its crew and passengers. Coastal states must promote the establishment and maintenance of adequate search and rescue services regarding safety on and over the sea. SOLAS Convention 1974, Chapter 5, requires contracting governments to ensure arrangements for distress communication and coordination. SAR Convention 1979 focuses on the technical cooperative aspects of organising regional search and rescue services. Non-refoulement prohibits returning rescued refugee migrants to a country where their life or freedom is threatened. Places of safety. The duty to rescue implies that those rescued must be delivered to a place of safety on land, not just removed from the water. These obligations apply globally in all maritime zones, including the high seas. The state in which a ship is registered is responsible for ensuring its ships comply with these obligations. Interesting. Because the British seas have the best waters in the world for the fish, the EU lost billions of pounds. Okay. This is how I believe they're abusing a loophole, because being rescued is legal entry. But they changed the law anyway, didn't they? To say as long as you get on land and say that you're a refugee, and therefore you're in the process and must be deemed as illegal. As legal, rather, not as an illegal. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think that the whole lot needs to be changed up. All of it needs to be changed up. People need to be refused. Once they're on dry land, they can be taken back safely. No one's in danger from France, are they? Let's be honest about it. It's just disgusting. Look at Rachel Reeves, James. They had a budget. She had a budget that she could play around with this year. She wasn't in deficit like she told everyone. And in fact, they all lied about the black hole. They all lied about it, but they've wasted it all on immigration. You know, it's disgusting. Yeah, but there's very few ways to it. Yeah, they say they're asylum seekers. They just say they are. And then once they get here, I don't even think proper checks are being done anymore, DP. I think that our country is just selling people out, just bringing them in as many people as possible. I was in the British Army for 12 years, ex-para, left and became a border agent, then went on to stopping immigration for coming into the UK. Don't blame you, James. It's too late anyway. The damage has already been done, in my opinion. Even if we stop the immigration tomorrow, we've got too much of a problem still left here to be dealing with for the next fucking 40 years. It's disgusting what's happened. And I don't know how they think that they're doing good. I really don't. You know, when they're putting other people in danger. I can force it. I hope it doesn't, but I can foresee it getting really nasty. I hope it don't. You know? But I can see it foreseeing getting really nasty in the next couple of years. Mass deportations forcibly. I agree, Anne, but will it happen? Probably not with the governments that we've got. And I don't, unlike other people, I don't even think Farage is going to be the answer. I don't even think he's going to be the stepping stone. I think they all know what they're doing. And, you know, it's just sad, really. James said, do you know you can tell right away if there's immigration on the trucks? Do you mean immigrants? You mean immigrants? Yeah, they've got heat sensors, haven't they? Can't they tell? Oh, because they all smell of smoke. That's interesting. What, because of, oh yeah, where they've been having bonfires and stuff to keep warm. Ooh. That's mental. The governments worldwide want a new world order, so have to destroy the current world system. It starts from within. Yeah, I know. I think that is what they've done. I really do think that's what they've done. But all the ethnic minorities that thought that they were fighting for something can soon realise that they were just a tool to bring down the majority so that the majority was silenced into not doing anything. Hi, Nigel. Long time no see. You know? But we'll see, won't we? We'll see what happens. It's all turned into a bloody nightmare. Let's have a look at what the papers are saying this morning. Let me see what the papers are saying. Anything interesting in the news? Probably not. Probably more morbid stuff that we should... Let's have a look. Oh, they've got an expose. Let's have a look who this woman is. I always wonder when they put somebody in the paper when they've had so many other activists and then they choose somebody. I often wonder if it's what it's about, but let's have a look. So it says, 3 months ago, Kim Bailey considered her life humdrum I was working full-time as a manager in the public sector. I'd walk my dogs in the forest. I've been married for 10 years. I didn't go out much as the modest mother of four, by way of illustrating just how unremarkable a routine in the pretty East Sussex town of Crowborough was. I was boring, very boring, she insists. Walking the streets with banners, certainly not. Rebutting the words of seasoned politicians at public meetings, not so much. Appearing on breakfast television, nope. I'd never been on a protest before, and I've never done anything like this in my life. Kim 44 is sitting in the Blue Anchor, a pub that's become the backdrop to events that have unfolded since October, when the Home Office announced plans to turn the town's military training camp, primarily a centre for army cadets, into a temporary home for up to 600 adult male asylum seekers. Ever since that announcement, Kim's life has been anything but boring. When we met on Thursday, she spent most of the day under the umbrella at the entrance to the camp, talking about why the good folk of Crowborough, a market town with a branch of Waitrose, in its tidy centre and Ashdown Forest of Winnie the Pooh frame at its fringe, are so alarmed by what's going on. Yeah, see, this annoys me. So she's allowed to be spoken about, yeah, because she's from a nice little town, yeah. Good for her. I'm glad she's standing up. But what about all the people that have been standing up for years? No one listened. Every Sunday, hundreds, sometimes thousands of townsfolk have poured onto the streets to protest. Matters come to a dramatic head in the early hours of Thursday when the first group of 27 migrants were transported into the camp by coach with police escort. There were more coming and goings in the early hours yesterday, suggesting the numbers have swollen further. Kim had been expecting the arrivals ever since food and refrigeration trucks rolled through the entrance, a mile or so from Crowborough Centre in the forested fringes, where affluent commuters have their large detached homes late last week. See, we were always going to have to wait for the affluent people to be affected before people stood up, weren't it? You know? Now maybe the middle classes know what we were talking about. It's all made for a very busy time for Kim, who can't quite pinpoint what made her put her hand up at a public meeting, hastily convened by a local reform candidate, and volunteered to take on the role of chairwoman of what's needed to be a community, not political campaign. I can't tell you why, she said with a chuckle. Oh, chuckle brothers, eh? Yeah, she's a little chuckler. I just felt my hand going up and this little bird on my shoulder going, put your hand down, you're not qualified to do this. Clearly, she didn't listen to the bird, which is why Kim had to book leave this week from a senior managerial position she's had for the past decade to liaise with lawyers and help spearhead the group's campaign. Even now, she dries off from the rain. She is juggling a flurry of phones, calls and messages in her capacity as chairwoman of Crowborough Shield. The campaign group hastily assembled in the wake of that October bombshell. Oh, here we go. As a figurehead, she has a co-chair, father of two, Alex de Warren. Kim could not be more eloquent and passionate. Oh, she's lovely and eloquent, is she? Suitable, is she? Middle class, is she? Essentially, I'm standing up for what is right for this town, she says. This isn't about 600 asylum seekers. This is about the whole thing. This is about unsuitable accommodation for people that are supposed to be vulnerable and at risk. No, it's not. This is about the threat to the community. This is about a community that is having a central government decision imposed on them without any say. Yes, it's about having a dictatorship. without any safety measures, without any safeguarding assessments, nothing. Don't worry, Kim. They'll come down there and put in the assessments and the safeguarding measures. You're fighting on the wrong front, love. We vote for representation, not rule, and that's what's happening here. Central government saying this is what we're doing, don't stand in our way. Well, yeah, that's been going on in working class communities for a very, very long time, and London have had enough of it. Now you know what it feels like. She speaks from the heart, but it's not just passions that's gone into the campaign. Her own financial security is on the line too. Yeah, that's been happening to people for about 10 years, Kim. Join the club. A crowdfunder launched by the group to challenge the government in the courts has raised $93,000, but there is, to their dismay, no cap on cost, and the Home Office says Kim is already seeking £35,000 in cost, raising the risk that if the bill soars, their own homes will be at risk. Inevitably, our mind does wander down the alleys of what if. Well, other people that you've looked down your nose on, Kim, have put their own money into things over a long period of time. But she trusts that even if the government fails her, it won't come to that. She doesn't come across as a woman weighed down by anxiety. She's upbeat and focused. Even after a long day spent in the rain. Oh, she's a superhero now. But it's not enough to deter her, she says. Kim is warm and friendly, the perfect voice. Oh, perfect voice. Yeah? And face of a public campaign. She's also not easily intimidated, which is perhaps down to a childhood spent in foster homes from the age of 9 to 16, at which point she began to live independently, putting herself through college. I used to challenge social services all the time. Social workers hated me, she says. At school, I've always stand up for the children being bullied. I would always be the one that would face off the bullies. I'm like a dog with a bone. And when something's not right, when people are being exploited, treated unfairly, I find it very difficult to put it down. So you're fighting for the rights of the immigrants, are you, love? There was a time during COVID when she went into battle with British Airways over flights booked and paid for that, weren't refunded. She took them to arbitration, got her money back, then templated her letter and shared it for others to use online. As she talks, it becomes clear the Home Office has got quite a fight on its hands. I grew up without parents. I put myself through school, college, university. I worked 3 jobs. I'm raising 2 children of my own. She has 2 stepchildren as well as her own. Okay. Good background. I bought my first house and then to have the government stand there and say, if you carry on, we're going to take it all. If that's one thing to fight for, it's that, isn't it? The family home. Well, yeah, that's what the working class have been saying for a very long time. You know, they've been calling out injustices and being cancelled, you know, for wrong think. Yeah? The home is here in Crowborough. One of the most striking features of which, apart from its location, is an area of outstanding beauty, is its political diversity. Wealdon District Council is run by a Liberal Democrat Green Labour alliance, and Kim and Alex stress how diverse their group is. Oh, how brilliant. Ticking all the boxes, love, are we? Kim recoils from the notion of NIMBYism and attests she hates politics, even if she has been approached by more than one political representative during the past 3 months wanting to tap into her inimitable talents. She is careful talking about her career, but says, I feel very strongly about having a voice for people who feel they don't have one. And in my job, I've done a lot of that. I've advocated for the deaf community. I learned sign language so that I could communicate with deaf communities. I've worked with migrant communities over access to services. She points to Crowborough's long history of opening its doors to those in need. The community has helped Afghan families as part of the Afghan refugee programme. When we brought over the interpreters who support the soldiers, it's also opened its arms to Ukrainian refugees. But it's very difficult to have 250 families compared with 600 single undocumented men from unknown origins, unknown criminal backgrounds on the edge of town with nothing to do. Now you know what everybody else has been feeling. You got all the nice immigrants, did you? The experience, she says, of what has happened elsewhere in Epping, for instance, where an asylum seeker was jailed for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and a woman while living in an asylum hotel, raises concerns. It definitely brings fear to our community, she says. Whether it's genuine or perceived, it's still a real fear that needs to be managed carefully and sensitively. The Home Office are not engaging. The District Council haven't engaged. No mitigation, no reassurance has been provided. The government have announced it's not safe for the cadets to parade on site with the asylum seekers there under the guard of military personnel. But it's perfectly safe for school children to stand 10 metres outside that camp at a bus stop in the dark. How do you justify that? Of course parents are going to worry. Let anyone think Kim is soapboxing. Oh, you're not allowed to soapbox now because that's down at the bottom. One need only look at the photographs of those Sunday protests of young and old pouring into Crowborough. Those living near the 37-acre site have always enjoyed this leafy spot, which is being converted post-haste after the Home Office used Q-class rights to bypass normal planning permissions, a process that allows the use of the site to be changed without a full planning application or full environmental impact assessment. Phil Straker, 69, lives next door to the main entrance to the camp. His wife is a beekeeper and spends lots of time at the back of their property. She could be in the polytunnel or the greenhouse on her own and be approached. Oh my God. Whilst I don't really want to take the mickey out of this person and their fears, because their fears are very real, do they not know what the rest of us have been putting up with outside our schools, our streets, going to work, on the buses, on the trains? You know, she doesn't want to be bothered while she's beekeeping. Brilliant. And spends lots of time in the back of their property. It only takes one bad apple. He has 2 grandchildren aged 8 and 10 who spend 2 days a week at their home. So what I see going on here is classism, guys. Yeah. And whilst it's nice to have these people standing up, and I back them up, and I think it's brilliant, yeah, wouldn't it have been nice if the Daily Mail had been as fair with the people that were in Epping and everybody else, you know? She wouldn't have spoken out if it hadn't affected her fancy house and lifestyle, exactly. Probably looked down on all the people that were moaning before. It's mad. Others have gone further. Mark Hodgson, who runs Crowborough Security Systems, has now been busier throughout his 30 years in business. Before the camp, our work was spread out within a 45-minute radius of Crowborough, he says. Since mid-November, nearly every job has been in Crowborough itself. People are spending thousands on cameras and alarms for their properties, and in some cases, panic buttons. Aren't they lucky to be able to afford that? But I'm not rubbing my hands with glee at the extra work, as I live in Crowborough myself. People are extremely worried and angry with the government. Karen Creed, 62, remembers how different it was when Afghan families evacuated during the withdrawal from Kabul in 2021 and were housed at the camp before being resettled elsewhere. Yeah, I bet that weren't the thousands that they flew over, though, that they knew were on the list, but were a risk to us, because a lot of them ones are still in London committing rape. There was a reason for them being here, she says. We got to know that they weren't illegal immigrants, but the fact that now it is all men in a facility like that gives it a completely different dynamic, and we don't know the background of any of them. If that is driving Kim Bailey on. 3 months ago, she was picking her way through divorce proceedings. Don't care, that's her business. And Kim wanted to move to Spain. Selling up might be tricky now, she says. Oh dear, has the price of your house gone down? You can't flee. The house had been on the market for about 6 weeks and we'd had 9 viewings. Then the announcement was made at the end of October and everything stopped. Not a single inquiry, so I took it off the market. For Kim, at least, there was a silver lining. Now she wouldn't want to leave, having forged new connections in a town in which, for the first 10 years of her residence, she only knew a handful of people. This situation has changed the lives of a lot of people, she says. Yeah, too right it has, all over the country. Kim is talking to lawyers, and the Crowboroughs Shield contemplates if it can apply for an injunction to prevent further migrants being moved to the camp. And as she is ready, I'm used to challenges. I think even as a woman who has a career, she spends her whole life fighting. You're always up against strong competition, she says. One of the things I've always done is fight for people's rights. Migrant communities, ethnic minorities, disabilities. I spent years being an advocate and a voice for those people. It's the right thing to do. And there's no difference here. It's the right thing to do. Well, we shall see how successful you are when you're going up against the state. I wish her luck, because she'll set a precedence. But apart from that, you can see the snobbery right through that piece, and it's quite disgusting. I find it disgusting. I know people as we speak right now that are in Calais for the UK, working with the French police on the beach, stopping them coming across on the boats. And they don't get paid for it because they're all volunteering from the UK. So the French police are stopping the boats then, James. Are they or are they not? Because I thought earlier you said that they were putting them onto the lorries and trucks. So are you saying the police are trying to stop it, but the immigration authorities are sending them over? Interesting. I agree with you. Anne Robinson, she wouldn't have woken up by the sounds of it. It's quite annoying, really, isn't it? I think it's annoying. Quite disgusting. Yeah. Anyway, guys, like, sub, and share. Share this channel around if you can to get other people to come over. It's a shame no one come up onto the panel to join me, but I don't mind. I can hold a panel all by myself. I am going to end the stream now because I've got other things to do. But just to let everybody know that this is where the new panel shows, if any, are going to be, and where I just speak for myself. And yeah, I'll start collecting some subjects together. It's still going to be reviews on the Jupiter affiliated, on the older Jupiter affiliated, and Jupiter affiliated 2.2 is going to be where I do the where I talk about reviews of other panels and stuff. So speak to you all later. Oh, Anne Robinson said, thanks, Duke, and I enjoyed the glass dildo stream. Yes, mental, wasn't it? That's when I began to read. That was really early back when I first come on YouTube, when I was trying to understand white ethno-nationalists and black ethno-nationalists, and that was the white ethno-nationalist streams. That was the people were from there. Very weird that was. Very, very weird. That's when I began to realise that some of these people weren't right in the head. Yeah. That was the beginnings of it. Although it's quite sad because when you think about it, we were talking about a woman being thrown downstairs, possibly, allegedly, which is terrible, really. But yeah. On that note, take care, everyone. I shall speak to you later. Bye-bye.